Everyone forgot about this deck, but it is still good in High Infinite. Longtime viewers will know that I will take any excuse I can get to play some Anti-Venom, so I devoted an entire stream to various Anti-Venom decks, and this was the best one. I tried a bunch of different versions of the ongoing list right now. It's a list that I think people overlook because it's not the greatest into Deafening Chord, and that can definitely be a bit of a damper on the output here, but what this deck does have is just a pretty wild amount of point output that is almost combo-esque some of the time. And while I'm not positive Anti-Venom is exactly the right decision here, I do appreciate that he gives me so much more flexibility with what I'm going to do on the final turn of the game in a deck that desperately needs that flexibility. I came away from this impressed with the point output and point distribution abilities of this list, and also feeling like, while it was a fairly simple list to play, it is deceptively simple in the sense of, much like I would say mono red in Magic the Gathering, this is a deck where you're making a couple of really important decisions every single game, and if you make them right, you are doing very strong things, very powerful things, and if you make them wrong, like playing the wrong 3-drop or prioritizing the wrong thing, you will end up screwing yourself over. The reason this happens is because this deck has so many different branching outcomes off of just where you choose to put your stuff and whether or not you're going to invest in a Moonstone, whether or not you're going to invest in an Iron Man. All of that stuff really comes into play every single time you play it. That means that this deck really scratches an itch for me, that even though Marvel Snap is a game that is fast and a lot of your decision points matter, this feels like very pure Marvel Snap in terms of what you're trying to do, and that simplicity is really what I love about playing it. Ant-Man is a 1-cost card with an ongoing ability that is effectively up to a 1/5. A lot of why this card is in here is to just make your curve better. When this deck doesn't get early curve, it is very bad. That's actually part of what I like about the Anti-Venom in here, is it can help make up for a lackluster early game some of the time. Not all of the time, because often when you have a lackluster early game, it's because your good Anti-Venom targets are already in your hand, but enough of the time, it can give you that sort of ability to have basically an extra turn by playing out that card you got off of the Anti-Venom, which sort of vaults you back into games that you would otherwise have just been purely tempoed out of. This is not the greatest tempo play in the world, but when you're looking at not having a single play on turn 1 and turn 2, this guy's a godsend. Goliath is your resident very large man. Interaction to keep in mind is that if you have a Moonstone in a lane with a Goliath and a Captain Carter, the Moonstone will get the Goliath points and will pass them on to the other cards with her Captain Carter ability. Definitely a very powerful thing to be doing. Obviously, you have other ways of multiplying the efficacy of this card. You get a lot out of just having a big guy, but more than just having a big guy you get to multiply. Now, Deafening Chord is definitely not what you want to see, but what Deafening Chord has done for this kind of deck is that there's a lot of decks that are not playing Cosmic Ghost Rider and have replaced it with Deafening Chord. And so while you look at this list and you think, you know, yeah, I'm playing all cards Deafening Chord is good against. Yes, but, and this is crucial, the Cosmic Ghost Rider is way better against them, and they're not playing that. Ravonna Renslayer is honestly mostly just here to be another 2. One of the things that I was messing around with was like, how many early cards do I actually need? It turns out, like, yeah, you kind of need this card. She lets you do enough reasonably powerful stuff that I'm generally happy with what she can do. You just really need to be playing something on turn 2, though. Like, that is really what it comes down to, is if you skip turn 2, you are in a ton of trouble. So don't skip turn 2. And there aren't really a lot of other options. I tried some Invisible Woman stuff just as 2/4 ongoing that maybe did something. She never did anything, so I ended up back on Ravonna. The single best card you can possibly have in this deck on turn 2 is Sam Wilson, Captain America. He is the absolute goat of all goats, a scaling 2 that lets you mess around with various ways of maybe protecting yourself from deafening chord type stuff. Who knows? And also allows you to manipulate front and back lane for cards like Moonstone and Captain Carter, and also scales up himself and normal Captain America, throwing the shield back and forth. Can't say a single bad thing about this guy. Mr. Fantastic is a nice little addition to this list. He requires a lot of like forward thinking about your positioning. Like a lot of the time, what you're going to be doing is leaving the middle as open as possible so you can get a Moonstone there, a Mr. Fantastic there, and then also something that'll actually win that lane, like a Goliath or a Captain Carter or whatever, right? Since we're not playing Mystique, that actually becomes a lot less important. Like, Moonstone is much less a thing that we are going to do with Mystique to get a bunch of points, because we are going to be distributing our points a little bit more diffusely. Now, I do think this is a reaction to Cosmic Ghost Rider and Deafening Chord, because all-inning one lane and saying this one lane wins the other one's not the greatest thing to do right now. That is part of why Sam Wilson is so goated, because he's just doing some stats like back and forth. You really are happy with that. And it's part of why we're not hyper investing in this the way other decks do. He's still good here, don't get me wrong. Like, the rate on him is a 3/7. You can double him with Moonstone. You're very happy to do that. He's an ongoing card that carries buffs well from Spectrum, from Captain America. All that's true, but we're a lot less all in on him than these builds have been in the past. Cap Carter is a weird one here. Like, she's obviously pretty terrible to hit with a Anti-Venom, unless you are able to have a Moonstone, in which case she's absolutely the goat to hit with an Anti-Venom, right? Like, this is a card that if you get it in a Moonstone lane, this is a card that like actually kind of dictates a lot of how you play. You really want Moonstone in the front line, because then if you get a Captain Carter in that lane, she passes the buff on. Even more than that, you want Moonstone. If you can't get her in the front line, you definitely want her third, Captain Carter fourth, again, passing the buff on. All of that really, really matters. This is a card that I think people are very quick to play out early, and they probably shouldn't be. I would happily play a Mr. Fantastic or a Captain America before I play this card, because she is so much more meaningful behind a Moonstone than she is in her own lane. Captain America is a solid card with a solid ongoing ability, great synergy with Sam Wilson Captain America, and the two of them tossing the shield back and forth is one of your strongest openings. What makes this deck so unique to me is that it can be this sort of marginal gain deck where you're doing the shield stuff and just playing like mid-rangey ongoing dudes, and then you finish it off with like a fairly low ceiling kind of play to dodge as much interaction as you can. Maybe you're playing a Cosmo to protect your guys, all that stuff, right? Or you can be this massively high ceiling deck where you slap this in the same lane as an Iron Man, you get like 50 power or something like that. That can also happen, and this guy's kind of the bridge between those strategies. I've mentioned Cosmic Ghost Rider and, of course, the Deafening Chord. Yeah, your Cosmo is here to make sure that you don't get like super owned by those cards. It's definitely part of it. And that is the other reason why we aren't on Mystique here, where it's like, if we have to do this, I don't know that we have room in the lane that we're doing like Mr. Fantastic, Moonstone, Mystique. I don't know if we have room for a thing that doesn't win that lane in there. So we're just going to be a Cosmo deck. I think about cutting him a lot. Cosmo's a good card, but I mean, I think a Shadow King could go a decent way if I were to play that here. Just sort of undoes the Anti-Venom thing, and also is just a really good card into the metagame right now. It's something I would try. I spent a lot more time just trying to figure out what the core of this deck looked like to me than messing around with that, but it is something to think about. Moonstone is why Cosmic Ghost Rider is so good against you, because she very clearly wants to be in one of the front row spots, and because she wants to be in one of the front row spots, she looks really stupid when you Cosmic Ghost Rider, but that's life, and sometimes you just have to eat it to a Cosmic Ghost Rider. It's part of why we're trying not to hyper invest in her lane. It's part of why we're running Cosmo, playing a little bit more of a minimal game. That stuff's really important, and it will come up. And make sure, I think, not to get too greedy with her. She's great. One of the best cards in the deck, if not the best card in the deck. But you do have to be really careful with her. Anti-Venom is a really interesting card because on the one hand, he's not an ongoing card. What's the synergy here? What are we actually doing? We don't have any way to undo the buff. But on the other hand, if you get like a free Iron Man or any 3-drop free, you basically get an extra turn or half a turn. And when you play this deck, that matters quite a bit. Like, this is a deck that has a very straightforward curve, right? You play a 2, you play a 3, you play a 4, you play a 5, you play a 6. Or you play a 2, you play a 3, you play a 4, you play a 2 and a 3, you play a 3 and a 3. That kind of stuff, really all that's happening here, right? That is sometimes not enough to fill up lanes the way you want. And having this card allow you to, for example, play a 3 and a Spectrum on the final turn of the game if it hits, a Mr. Fantastic, Captain America, whatever. That's really good. That's really, really important. That margin can matter a lot because maybe that Mr. Fantastic goes in a Moonstone lane, right? Suddenly, that is incredibly impactful amounts of points. That is how this deck wants to play. It needs to have just a little bit more confusion in its output, and that is what this card is giving it. Do I know that it's core? I don't. But I think it adds a much needed element of surprise to this list that you will notice not having if you don't play him. Iron Man is low-key one of the better 5s in the entire game. Like, yes, we're no longer doing Mystique Moonstone stuff because, the Ghost Rider, the Cord, we don't really want to do that. But this guy himself is just, like, pretty good right now. Get him in a back line, neither of those cards actually hit him, and you're like, oh yeah, this guy's like one of the bigger 5s we have. Oh, right, I forgot about that. Yeah, Ravonna does some stuff, but like nothing really super meaningful, just generally cool. Obviously, the single best hit in the deck off of an Anti-Venom, not even remotely close, just the best possible hit. That kind of stuff is extremely, extremely powerful if you're able to make it happen. This is a strong card that is in a good deck for what it is able to do. This is one of those cards that's going to give you the biggest problems, though, because it's really easy to think, I need to split my points up instead of playing this Iron Man. Really easy to do that. It's a very tempting line all the time. But sometimes it actually just is right to be like, nope, I'm playing the Iron Man. It's going here. I'm going to do this, then I'm going to win another lane. They don't have anything for it. That's real. You're going to have to do that sometimes. And that, to me, feels a lot like in another card game, just being like, I'm playing all my guys out. I hope they don't have the board wipe. That's the reason I compare this deck to Mono Red, where it's just like, here's my guys. Do you have it? It plays Do You Have It a very, like, there's a lot of, like, semi-risky overextending that you just kind of have to do sometimes. And I really enjoy that feeling. Spectrum's another great card to hit off of an Anti-Venom. Like, yeah, you lose out on 7 power, but free buff to your entire board, you're pretty good for that, right? This is a card that, much like Iron Man, in reverse almost, sometimes looks a little more seductive than she actually should. She's a good card, but a lot of the time when you've invested heavily in a lane, such that Spectrum is buffing it a lot, probably already won that lane, and you might need to be looking for points elsewhere. That's kind of the biggest loss from what the metagame has done in terms of Cosmic Ghost Rider stuff, is that, like, it used to be what we could do is just, like, stack the mid lane with, like, 85 Mr. Fantastic procs and then Spectrum somewhere, and that would probably be enough. And I'm not sure that it is anymore. And that is what comes up with her a lot. I think it's very easy to play Spectrum, but it's also definitely not always correct. All right, y'all, we're going to jump into some gameplay. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I have been KMBest. You have been phenomenal. And I hope to see you in the next one. Remember to like and subscribe, especially if you got this far in the video, and enjoy the gameplay. The Cosmo also isn't doing shit. Like, maybe Cosmo is just supposed to be Shadow King, period, right? That would make a lot of sense. No, I don't think Luke is better. I'm aware he says ongoing, but I just don't think that makes sense. I think the Cosmo might be the cut. think I got that guy out there. Goddamn.
Avengers! Assemble.
Think about this. Not just the CGR, it's also like the spells, right? No spell. There you go. But now you move the silk back over there, don't you? And I guess you could not. No cannonball either. Nice. Yeah. I mean, this seems like a lot of points.
Knowledge is power.
Every time I think, oh, it's time to cut Cosmo, it's not time to... But it definitely didn't feel like a game I felt confident in until the Bast came down, at least. Oh, I mean, yeah, give me some shit. I'll just dump shit in there. I don't give a fuck. Can't anything be worse than what I've got, you know? That ain't good. Throw it in there and see what we come up with. Sure.
Assemble.
Oh, fun. Well, at least my ongoings work again. Nice.
Opponent snapped.
I'm gonna stick around because this game is really fun. Hello. Oh no, I got Cosmo. Oh, it's so over.
I am Iron Man.
Well, that wouldn't have been what I would have wanted out of that. Like this? Just see if it works? I guess. Got it. How big? Not big at all! Alright, there are no hits that actually mean that we lose here,
Knowledge is power.
if I'm not mistaken. Is it Spectrum or Ant first? It's definitely Spectrum first. We can pull the Spectrum out. Like that.
Knowledge is power.
Definitely Spectrum first. So that it goes back. Up.
Snap. Avengers! Assemble.
He's losable. Kind of depends on what I get. Because, like, there are worlds where I just rip an Iron Man here, and the G is G'd. Gotta be this. I just died a bunch of Iron Man shit. Like, to me, this is screaming Iron Man's left or whatever the fuck. Surely they never have it. Damn, they had it. I was kind of wondering about Cosmoing, is what I was thinking about on the back end there. Iron Man Mystique.
Avengers! Assemble.
I am
Wait a minute.
Iron Man.
Oh! Oh my god. Okay, we should have died.
Avengers! Assemble.
Brutal. This Anti-Venom Krakoa is kind of slick. I mean, I guess the question is how big we expect that Morbius to be and how big we expect that other thing to be. I think this is a Mr. Fantastic Captain Carter Spectrum angle. I think that's what this is. It is an additional 13 in the middle. I do think I go for it.
Oh, snap.
And it is quite a lot on the right. And I...
Knowledge is power.
Let's go.
Victory.
Cool card. Surely I'll get a Sam Wilson here, right? I haven't had a single game with Sam. Aye. Huh. I don't even know if that's good for you, my guy. Very cool, though. The horde there, that's got to be bad. They're snapping. I guess they must have gotten an Iron Man. I could think of. All right. This works, right? Like, Captain Carter gives it to Moonstone, which then buffs Carter. Am I super stupid for thinking this wins? Am I a moron here? Someone needs to tell me before I snap back. This actually, because this gives it to Moonstone, then gives it to Captain Carter. So this is actually just 8 points of power here, right? Whereas this is 7 points of power. Oh my god! That actually kills me. What the fuck? Oh wait, no it doesn't. I'm a moron.
Assemble.
I was about to lose my shit. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was about to lose my actual shit. For a second I thought I added 8 power was the play. I was just worried that I wouldn't have priority and I had to play it. But I think I might have fucked it by doing what I did there.
I am Iron Man.
Good. Going for a tiebreaker here. Definitely winning the middle by about 10 million. Nice. I didn't think they had much that they could do about this.